close family and friends manage homes as investment.
Putting in most of my money into one single asset. If that particular property diminishes in value, my entire portfolio diminishes.
Even if somebody has made wealth in some other way, they somehow come back into real estate.
The general guideline is like 30 to 35% of salary.
Diversification plays a very important role. You can park some portion of your money savings into real estate.
Every time you would speak to a broker, they would be like location.
For me, real estate is something which is the undisputed mode of creating wealth. Even if somebody has made wealth in some other way, they somehow come back into real estate and park that money that they earn somewhere else in real estate. So yes, that is where most of us have made wealth, and I strongly believe in real estate, and that is the best way to make wealth.
The most important point that you have to look into is diversification. Today, when you are starting young, you definitely can't think of investing in a real estate, all right? Because if you want to buy a property, it goes through its own, there's a lot of compliance to it. There's a lot of nitty-gritties around it. And of course, you can't think of buying a property when you're just starting to invest money. So physical investment in property, I think you should hold it for some time till you get onto so much money that you have maybe in lakhs together or crores together. But yes, you can invest. There are so many other options to invest in real estate through real estate stocks. So if you are having a lot of interest in real estate, I think real estate stock plays a very important role. But again, coming back to the point that your love, your passion, your interest may be into one. But at the same time, you are into the industry, you are into the market to make money in the long run. So diversification plays a very important role.
With someone who is very young, let's say, right, just started off their career, for them, will real estate be the right kind of investment product as their first few investments? Because it's definitely a big chunk of money, and I'm not talking about the fractional investment point of view right now. Yeah. I'm just talking about just buying versus renting. So that's another thing, because also we have spoken to a lot of Gen Zs, and they also can't find where they want to be rooted, right? They are still exploring. They have not even started investing in mutual funds or stocks. So for them, for us, we generally advise that's not the first thing that you should look out for, because it's a big commitment.
Yes.
Right. You have to slowly get into that.
Yeah.
So what do you
I think
have to say
at
about
that, I mean, for the investors at that stage who are just started their career, I would say, or maybe a year into the their life cycle of the career, I think investment into real estate would not be the real suitable, because anything you look at buying, if you're looking at investing on your own money, you won't be able to buy anything as a property as such.
Anything decent,
you would definitely need some help, be it from your family or something like that. But if you're looking at buying at an age where you are able to pay EMIs which are as equal to your rents,
that's probably
the time where you should actually invest and get into a ready to move in property. So that's something.
So that then you save on the rent.
You save on the rent.
Property being the first investment for our parents' generation. So although on the face of it, it seemed like a physical asset that's more secure.
Yeah.
But I would go on to say that it was actually a big risk that they were taking, right? Because imagine I've just started to work and I'm putting in most of my money into one single asset.
Yeah.
If that particular property diminishes in value, my entire portfolio diminishes in value, right? So you can't diversify. And also, you don't have too much liquidity. If you want to sell off your property, it might take months or even years to do that. Right? So you can argue that it was a riskier approach.
Back then,
So I would say now, only when you've built up certain assets in liquid forms, is when you should start thinking about property as an investment to even live in properties, right? So I'll segue into the next question with that, which is, what are your thoughts on buying versus renting in the current climate or environment?
I'd say at least for when you're young, right, below, let's say 30, it doesn't make a lot of sense to buy because one, there's so much uncertainty into what the trajectory of your life can be in the future.
True.
Like today I'm working in Bangalore, but maybe a few years later, if I'm in a different city, it would make no sense for me to own property back in Bangalore.
True that.
So just that uncertainty, I feel to tackle that in the early stages of your life, it's a lot better to rent. But as you get older and you know where your base is going to be, you have, let's say, a family, it's more stable, then it maybe makes sense to buy even then.
Right.
Because then it's more of, you're not thinking of it from an ROI monetarily. It's more of ROI as a family, as something, an asset that you own,
Yep.
a lifestyle you're going to build around it.
Right. Absolutely.
So from those angles, it makes sense to buy later on. But for now, definitely would say renting is a better way.
That's a really good point, and I want to sort of allude to something that's happening out there in the broad market, which is you see most influencers coming out and being completely against property investments.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't want to go to that extreme, because as you rightly pointed out, in certain stages of life, when you need that stability, when you don't want to be continuously renting and moving places, right? It does provide that stability to you. And if you sort of smartly choose the right property, you can have a decent capital appreciation there as well.
Yeah.
But I think the key point which you highlighted, which I totally agree with, is you need to make sure that you financially have enough of a buffer of liquid assets and high growth assets before you delve into property. Right?
Yeah.
So that in terms of your down payment, it's not a very huge commitment for you. Or even in terms of your monthly EMIs, it's not something that's a very, very large chunk of your salary. Like ideally less than 30% of your salary. This is a decision that couples ponder a lot, which is buying or renting a house. So how do you see house, first of all, as an investment? And what are your thoughts on buying a property to settle down in?
I think I'll start.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So for us, we are damn young. Okay. I think we are young, and in the next 3 years, we might be in Thailand, we might be in Dubai, like we might be, and we really, the first house we buy, we don't want to make it an Airbnb. I don't want ROI from that.
Right.
That should be the home, right? So I think for me, I would love to buy a house before our first child.
Right.
That is what I think, and you can take it forward.
No, absolutely. I think we feel that because we might also move around. And we don't want to buy a house just for investment. I think the first house we want to buy is to live in, right? So there would be a very, categorically choosing the location, the country for that matter. Let's assume even if it's in Bangalore, the size, the location, things like that, where we want to live in that house. Because at least in my experience of seeing my parents and grandparents and like say close family and friends manage homes as investments, right? Because couple of years back, a lot of my friends bought houses at Bhartiyar City, for example. So that becomes, if you're doing this early on in your 20s and your first house is for investment, that's a very time-consuming investment. Now, people always say that, rental yield is, while rental yield is less than fixed deposit, it's still, your principal is growing and all of that. That makes sense. But there's also this big time component that goes into it, right?
Absolutely.
Brokers,
we don't have the
leases,
time.
all of that. So it's very time intensive. It's best to put your time into, say, personal life as well as work. And we will buy a house, I think, most likely, closer to our first child, and a house that we'll want to live in.
Exactly.
And then
Makes complete sense.
could buy houses later. I actually know a lot of people who are very well off who've never bought a second house. They have a house they live in, and that's enough, right?
Yeah, even Nikhil Kamath.
Nikhil Kamath, I think still rents. So.
No, I think
So,
this is a very important and hot topic, I would say, right? Because a lot of influencers out there actively discourage people from buying houses. But my personal take is
what's your personal
that
take?
Again, no one size fits all.
Exactly.
The first point is the flexibility. If you need a flexibility, it doesn't make sense for you to buy a house to live in. If you're settling down, also the house provides a bit of a stability, right?
Yes.
As opposed to renting, and you don't know whether the lease will be renewed next year.
And they might kick you out.
They might kick you out, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't know if it'll be renewed,
So
right?
it's a very personal decision.
Yes.
And if you ask me from a financial standpoint, I would say buying a house very early early on in your career is a risky thing to do.
Yes.
Because you're putting a lot of money into one asset. That's point number one.
Correct.
And second is that you don't have liquidity.
Yeah.
Selling a
You
house
don't
is
have
a pain.
leverage.
Yeah. There's a big opportunity cost there, right?
Absolutely.
If you want to start up, right, and you have a 60K EMI, you're not going to do that. Right? You're just not going to do it.
Yeah. So financially speaking, what we tell all our clients is that only buy a house if you have an investment portfolio big enough to not be dented very significantly for your down payment. That's number one.
Yeah.
And number two is if your EMIs for the house are not a very significant chunk of your salary.
Yeah.
So the general guideline is like 30 to 35% of your salary and not more than that.
Yep.
So you need to get to that point in your life and that income level compared to the house that you want to buy.
Yeah.
essentially.
That's a good rule actually, because they have these rules for cars, right? That
Yes,
all the cars plus
exactly.
your maintenance plus service
Yes.
should be less than 10% of your net income. So if 35, I didn't know 35 was the number actually.
Yeah.
But if 35 is the number, that's a good number to keep in mind. So,
Exactly.
nice.
So that would actually even apply to a rental. So if you're renting a
Yeah,
house, so 30 to 35% would be a
makes
guideline for
sense.
that, and similarly for your
Yeah.
EMI as well. Okay. So you guys talked about buying a house potentially before you have a first child.
Yeah.
So is this something? I don't know if I'm prying, but is this something that's on the horizon? Is this something that you're planning for, or do you subscribe to the DINK philosophy, which is dual income and no kids?
Guys, no kids for at least the next 5 years, please.
and you just did a whole financial forensic audit of our bank account, and he asked, I don't think I hope I'm not prying, but I think DINK works well. I mean,
Yes.
again, to each their
DINK
own,
always.
but you
Maybe
have
a cat?
flexibility. It's similar to
That's about
like
it. A
cat.
Persian cat. That's
Yeah,
about it.
and a dog is even more of responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Like, so
Dogs are babies. They're like, I think
True that.
even they're literally
they're
babies.
forever babies. We
Yeah.
love dogs. We've had dogs before in
Yeah.
our lives.
Nice.
But I think the broad principle we follow I think you should always have an anchor to take any decision.
I think you'll never recommend people doing that, but let's say I always wish to buy a grander house where I live in. So I don't know how smart it is as an investment to buy a house in these today's world, which are super expensive, and you end up paying EMIs for 10 years for a thing which might not be even worth that big or that great after 10 years. But because in India we do a lot of things aspirationally and emotionally.
Yeah.
So for me, that is possibly the next investment I would like to do whenever I feel I'm comfortable.
Interesting. All the best for that goal. And I would say that, for as a, financial so-called, advisory perspective, I would say that there is no one size fits all. Finance is not a, one size fits all thing that you can do. It's very personal to people, and when it comes to buying a house, I strongly believe that a house which is residential is not an investment. It has all the emotional value for it, and if you need it, go ahead and purchase it, of course within the affordability means. So if you wish to go get a grander house, I'm sure you will climb up your career ladder and earn that income, and then go ahead. Otherwise bank won't even loan money, right? So anyway, so you can only get something that you can afford. So for residential property, that's very, very personal to people as a personal choice. A lot of people delay buying a house because they're mobile and they don't know where they want to settle down.
Exactly.
Of course, property as an investment is another question altogether, and that's something we have addressed a number of times even in our podcast, that is not ideal as your first few investments. So what you've already done is, very good thing that you have started on with mutual funds. You have your emergency funds and have fixed deposits. You have also some exposure to stocks, although you're not very active, but you already know that this is something you can capitalize on once you have the time or bandwidth or interest.
Right.
I think after that, if you want to invest in yourself, in your emotional well-being, I think a house is great. Every time you would speak to a broker, they would be like, location. Yeah, we get it, right? If only it was that simple, everyone would be making money on real estate investment. So what are the factors? First of all, just spill the tea on this.
Location definitely plays an important role, but it also depends on what is the infrastructure which is around that location. If the infrastructure is not that great, that location won't help you.
Yeah.
Even if now people say that North Bangalore or South Bangalore is the best investment region for investment in real estate, but in North Bangalore there are different key factors which you have to take into consideration. What is the infra in and around?
Right.
Is that infra going to be developed coming soon, or it's proposed but never developed? Apart from that, what also helps, you should also look at is what is the kind of product that you're investing, depending on your requirement. If you are looking at investing if you're looking at a purely investment, then you should definitely invest into plots or properties.
Okay.
If you're looking at rental yields, you should look at investing into commercial properties. If you're looking at investing into a property where you have minimal increment every year into the property pricing, plus also have some rental income, definitely you should invest into residential properties.
Okay.
Like apartments or villas.
Apartments and villas.
So apart from location, the kind of product that you're investing also takes a very important role, because now things have changed. People don't look at investing into a project where you do not have good infrastructure around, or you don't have amenities inside the project, because now everyone wants a good lifestyle.
Yeah.
And if you want a good
lifestyle is
lifestyle,
big.
you need to have good amenities. You need to have a better quality construction, better methods of construction which has been used.
Yeah.
Because these things play very important for you to decide where you should be investing.
Any insights about if we are thinking of real estate investments, difference between residential real estate to commercial properties, the shopping mall business, shopping complexes? Any insights there for our audience?
In terms of REIT?
As an investment.
As an investment in REIT or?
It could be REITs or if even in a physical property, let's say.
See, as far as physical properties are concerned, all are again coming at very different budgets. When you talk about retail, commercial, residential, they all come at very different ticket sizes.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what ticket size you are trying to engage in. And they all come with their own added risks and uncertainties. So malls don't sell space. Organized malls like ourselves, we don't sell space in shops. So there's a REIT, you can invest in REIT. There's a certain fixed return that you can expect, which is not more than 7 to 8%. But then there's consistency, and then of course the valuation will always be there. So but if you want to own an asset in a mall, not possible. Even if some malls are selling you shops, don't buy, because the Tata sold malls are not the future of Indian shopping consumption or Indian shopping industry. There are hundreds of Tata sold malls who people have invested individually in stores and are shut.
Wow.
So at least 50% of these shopping complexes which have been built all over India where shops were sold are not operating. Because the retail game is very different. How people can come to malls. If you ask people which are your favorite malls, you'll only name malls. Even without asking, I'm telling you, you'll only name malls which are not sold, which are held by a certain entity.
Actually,
you'll speak about the malls that you'll see a Forum and so on and so forth, or Phoenix or whichever. But you'll never speak about malls where it's Tata sold. That Tata sold means individual shops are sold to different entrepreneurs. You'll never go to that mall. You'll never like that mall. You'll never name that mall. So don't invest in retail as far as shopping complexes are concerned. But yes. The highest return in real estate investment would be a retail store on high street, but then there again it comes with risks of the legality of it, and then the building permits, and then it's not everybody's game. But if you know how to play a game, the return on investment on retail assets on high street where you build stores, because retail is expanding. So there'll always be demand. So you see neighborhood, one store comes, and there 1 year later, if you come to the same street, there'll be 100 stores. So that return on investment is the highest. Of course, next is the commercial spaces, office spaces, which you can actually buy. Even from big builders now, they have always been selling. But then the ticket size is little large. So hence you can invest with them, and then you can hold an office space, and then you get a slightly higher return than the REIT, but lesser than retail. And then of course, the last is residential, where you book an apartment and rent is not much. But yeah, they are the sources of investments. But yes, I would like to advise people to stay away from Tata sold malls. Those are not good investments. And of course, you can invest in brands. There are a lot of startups which are coming up. A lot of brands are raising funds. So if you know them, you can invest with them. They are growing and they have a good promise.
We're going to do a cheat sheet, and we're going to ask you the do's and don'ts of the industry.
So do's would be, I would say that, you should always check at what is, the first thing you should look at is what is your requirement, and then try to work around it, work on your budgets. Second would be to look at what is the region that you would like to invest in. If it is going to be in Bangalore, you will have to look at, in and around the tech region. It can be either, Whitefield, or it can be on the electronic city front, or start looking at regions where there is going to be some development which is going to happen in, very near future.
Right.
Don't look at regions where okay, that development is going to come, but you never know when.
You never know when.
So investing in those kind of regions, you would not be able to get those kind of returns. So never invest saying, okay, down the line it will help you getting some good returns after 10 years. Definitely in real estate, never look for a quick in. And easily you won't be able to make quick money here, because real estate is a minimum 3 to 5 year game. You should be there for a long term.
Yeah.
Only a long term investment, you will be able to get some good returns. Apart from that, look at the pedigree of the builder. If you are looking into if you are looking at investment into some property, look at what has been the history of the builder. What have they delivered till now? What are the kind of products that they've delivered? So that is also very important nowadays.
Right.
And you should look at, are you investing at the early stage or are you investing at the saturated life cycle of the product?
Right.
If you are going to invest at the saturated life cycle, your returns will take much time than what you would get if you are investing at the early stage of the product.
Okay.
So that's also very important. If you're investing at the pre-launch or the launch of a project, you would be able to get good returns in the finishing stage of the project.